Right, we are recording now, folks. So good evening and welcome. I've lost count of how many of these open forums I've now chaired, but it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm glad to see everybody. We normally get up to 100, but we're down to 62. Maybe it's a sign of the times, or the day of the week, or maybe there's some football on somewhere. I don't know. But good evening and welcome. We're going to have a presentation very shortly, I hope, by Kath and Tracy. They haven't actually said that they're going to do it, but I did ask. So they're going to have to say a few words about the future. I just want to mention one or two other things before we do that. As most of you are aware, I am the chairman of the Champions Group, who basically are a mouthpiece for the working members of the railway, and we have frequent discourses, frequent conversations, frequent meetings with members of management, bringing over points that people have put to us, and vice versa, taking ideas away from management to the working members to see what they... Somebody's not muted. Graham Law, is that you not muted? Somebody is.
I bet it's Tracy.
It's Tracy, is it? I see. So basically, we recently expanded the Champions by 3 extra members, I think, and we still have 3 vacancies. And I am particularly looking for anybody who would like to represent the Transport Museum. I have mentioned this to them several times, and they've still not come back with a name or any volunteer. If there's anybody in the Transport Museum would like to join the Champions and sort of convey issues backwards and forwards, that will be helpful. Similarly for the diesel guys and steam operations, we don't have anybody from down that end. We've got 2 or 3 guards, a couple of signalmen, 1 from stations, 2 of us, including me, from education, 1 carriage cleaner. We've got a fair representation of the other departments, but diesel, steam, and the Transport Museum don't have anybody to speak on their behalf. And if anybody is interested, if they'd like to get in touch with me either by email or even a chat message tonight, that would be fine, and I'll get back to them and explain what it involves. It's not that onerous. It's mainly being able to talk to your colleagues and convey ideas backwards and forwards between them and Tracy and Mike and Kath and other members of the management as and when necessary. So I'm still looking for volunteers for the Champions from those particular 3 areas, if anybody is willing to volunteer.
I think John Hughes put his hand up for BTM.
It's just the point. Hi, Michael. Sorry about that. It's just the point. We always thought that Keith Shilton was our representative on the
well, the way I look at it, John, we are looking to have a couple of people at most from any department, but Keith is more on the education side and represents stations. He doesn't get involved with the day-to-day running of the museum as most of you do, particularly all the artifacts that you've got in there and or everything else that happens there. So somebody else would be most welcome to come and talk. And if you want to do it, John, you'd be most welcome as well. I'll talk to you about it again. In fact, I'll be down there on Saturday afternoon for a meeting if you want to have a word with me at that point. But that'd be great. Okay, I'm going to move on to my second point. As most of you will be aware, we've just started into our Santa season. Actually, on today, we finished decorating the first train completely for the Santas, which start in 2 weeks' time. So 1 train is now ready for use. It needs a little bit of a clean because we've made a bit of a mess putting things up. But apart from that, it's ready for use. The second train is being decorated, as is the overbridge and the booking hall. And there's a group of guys, all civil engineers at the moment, are all working on that. If anybody would like to come and help us get ready on Tuesdays or Thursdays for the next 2 weeks, if you can spare 2 or 3 or 4 hours to come and put up decorations or move things out the way, or even pack presents, because that's going to be taking place next week as well, then they'd be glad to see you anytime between sort of 9:30 and 3 o'clock during the day. If you want to come and help out, we would be glad to have you come. The Santas this year is selling extremely well. I'm sure somebody's going to tell me soon just how good it is doing. but the last thing I heard, we were well on the way to having a record income. I don't know about numbers of attendance, but it's going to be pretty high. And so Santa's is always a very prestigious event. The last time we did a full Santa in 2019, we had 41,000 visitors and 800 something thousand pounds. Hoping to get closer to 1 million this year if we possibly can. It's a very, very important part of the railway's activities. Getting on for a quarter of our income comes from Santa's, and we do need help getting ready, as we are doing now, and actually operating on the weekends. Last weekend in November, in 2 weeks' time, and then the weekends in December, finally finishing off with 7 days just before Christmas, the last weekend, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So we've got a whole week of Santas. Nobody's expected to work 7 complete days. And so if you can give us one or two of those last few days, then we'd be really grateful. Either contact me, well, I'm probably the easiest one to contact, or Lorna. I don't know whether Lorna's on tonight. Lorna's the events manager for the railway. I'm organising lots of the things to do with the Santas. So if anybody wants to help, either with the preparation on the next 2 weeks, Tuesdays and Thursdays, between 9:30 and 3 o'clock, any of that time, you don't have to come for the whole spell, 2 or 3 hours would be helpful. Or actually on the day as a steward, an elf. We've actually got enough Santas now, thank goodness. We've got the Santas is filled up. But we are looking for elves and stewards, few for the badge desk, meet and greet. There are various roles, and 1 or 2 roles behind the scenes where you don't even have to meet with the customers, particularly anyway. You might be on site with them, but don't really have to talk to them. If anybody wants to help out, please get in touch. We are having a meeting next Tuesday evening in the Transport Museum for anybody who wants to help out on the Santas at 7 o'clock. So anybody who wants to be a steward, an elf, a meter and greeter, or whatever, if you want to come along on Tuesday night at 7 o'clock, then we'll go through it all and try and sort out what dates you might want to help and so on. But it is the big event of the year. It's the biggest event for the last 3 years on this railway, really. Last year there was a Santa, but it was a very small affair with just people parading around the station and seeing Santa before they left. They didn't allow us to run any trains. This time we've got 2 trains running. Each one is running 5 or 4 times each day. It's a heavy workload, but we're doing our best to make it an enjoyable one. So anybody who wants to help, please get in touch with me or Lorna. Lorna.massey@eastlancsrailway.co.uk or mike.moore@eastlancsrailway.co.uk, and just tell us that you are interested, and I'll get back to you, or Lorna will get back to you. So that's my little intro sorted. Kath, Tracy, are you ready to do a little presentation for us? We have got some questions to follow afterwards. If you've got a question you want to put, please use chat rather than just doing it live, because it's easier for people to read what you're talking about. So use the chat for your question if you can, please, if it's not too long. I will go over those after Kath and Tracy have finished. So it's over. Who's starting? Kath, you?
I think Tracy's starting. I'm sharing the screen.
All right.
Yay!
Yeah.
Well, it's actually going to be a team effort from really all of us from the management team. So it's a proper joint effort. However, we might have to fill in for Lee and Martin, because I think they're not actually with us tonight.
I think Martin's on.
Is he? Oh, well, Martin, step up. I would like to say a massive welcome and thank you for coming. And before we get into the full introduction of what we're going to talk about, which is basically about 2021 and where we are financially, and also what we're doing for 2022, I just need to share with you my sense of pride in where we have actually come, particularly in the last 18 months, because it's been a rough ride at times, and we have wondered where on earth the next beam was going to come from. But please take it as a massive, massive thank you, and do have a sense of pride and achievement in where we've actually come, because personally, we have come on this massive journey, and we are pretty much in a place where we have a firm footing. I'm not going to say any more than that because we've got a massive job to deliver Santas. But first of all, if you want to go into the next slide, Kath, we'll
Yep.
give you a quick resume of what we're going to talk about. It is going to be pretty much a mixed bag. So there we go. We've got a basic update, financial update from Dave Leyland. Hello. Kath on revenues. Lee may not be here for traction and rolling stock, but basically give you a plan for 2022. The same for Jeff. There's a section from customer service from Martin, commercial from Mark, and the big elephant in the room, the questions or actual situation regarding commuter lines, and then we're open for any questions. Okay, off we go. Now, basic update, and I'll always start with safety because it's everyone's responsibility. So please be mindful. If you see it, say it, report it. Please report what you're seeing. If you've got any safety concerns, even if you think that that's going to, nobody's going to get into trouble. What we actually want to do is learn. And I think that is really, really important when you look through recent events that have happened on the mainline network and also on other heritage railways. We are only one step away from, and we don't want it to be us. We don't want things happening. We want everybody to go home with everything that they came with in the morning. So please, if you've got any safety concerns, please raise them. They will be investigated. They will be taken seriously. And I'm going to do a big plug here for Cyrus, because Alex Thomas is our Cyrus champion, which is very much an impartial reporting service. If you don't feel confident enough to report to us, they're like an intermediary. They're the ACAS of the safety world. So they will take your concern, raise it, bring it back to us, and we will work through to find a solution. So big advert for Cyrus there. The next challenge we've got, which actually isn't on here, I've had the interesting situation. I hope everybody's been following COP26. Despite all the politicians, there has actually been some really useful stuff out of it. However, one thing that's happened is in the last fortnight, the world coal price has rocketed. And what we were buying coal in from Russia 3 weeks ago at £170 a tonne, there is still some in the docks at Hull. However, if we're buying a new shipment, it's gone to £450 a tonne. Everybody needs to be aware of that because that isn't doubling, that's astronomically. And we've set the fares for next year. We've got to be mindful of this because we have not set the fares to take in account of that massive increase in coal price. The capital expenditure programme's agreed for 2022, which has got some good stuff in it, mainly looking after our infrastructure and assets. We've got rebuilding of the ELR and the capabilities is ongoing. And where I come from with this is we lost 13 posts and we certainly had a reduction in the number of people who were volunteering over the period of COVID-19. And we are gradually creeping back on certainly the passenger numbers, the revenues, people volunteering, and also our capabilities, because operations has been pretty tightly squeezed in delivery this year, as well as the commercial team. It's absolutely been down to the wire on the minimum number of people to do the job. And at times we have creaked, I'll admit that. We need to be better at understanding what our needs are and planning for it and actually getting us back up to capacity. But the headline for the year has been our ordinary passenger fares. July, 17.5% increase, but August, if you turn your mind back to August, this is ordinary passenger fares not coming for a special event. 115% increase on 2019 numbers, which is a lot of demand. So, next slide, we will go into the financial position from David Wiganese Leyland. You're still on mute.
There, David.
I'll unmute. Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Thank you for that one and the beans, etc. What I've got for you is, Tracy has said quite a bit there. I don't really want to much add to that sort of stuff other than a massive thank you to all those who've done anything for the railway in the last 2 years. It really has been tear-jerking at times, some of the things that have gone on, some of the digging to find funds from all over the place that's gone on. I ain't going to mention any names, but one person outside the ELR structure, who a lot of you won't know, is a lady called Dawn Sexton, who is the trust officer for the ELR Trust. She can get where even Kath couldn't get with regard to finding funds from all sorts of places. Much appreciated. So what I'm going to do now is simply read out a statement that's been prepared. This is deliberately vague. You'll find out why in a bit. It's been prepared by Peter Nittle and myself. Peter Nittle is the auditor of the railway, who has also done a massive amount for the railway in the last 18 months. There were times where I honestly couldn't see us carrying forward. I've got to say that, and that's even with all the best benefits of everybody that we've got working for us. So off we go. In all the decades of successful ELR operations going back to 1987, in 2020, the railway faced unprecedented operational and financial challenges, and through the dedication of staff and volunteers, overcame 3 national lockdowns, tier restrictions, and stop-start operations. Inevitably, revenues and visitor numbers collapsed and were down 50% on 2019. Reluctantly, and to reduce costs, there were a number of redundancies and expenditure reductions. COVID-19 coincided with the first year of operating as a charity. Condition of achieving charitable status was that the assets of the East Lancashire Railway Holdings Company, i.e. the original charity, had to be transferred to the East Lancashire Light Railway Company, the operating company. The assets transferred totalled £854,000, massive amount. Over the last several years, the holdings company have provided funds to the ELR for the benefit of the railway generally. What happened was that people gave money to the railway, it went into the holdings company, because then we could claim gift aid and various things, but the operating company was paying all the bills because that one was VAT registered. Now, there is a technical behind that, but it does go back to the Malcolm Vickers days of 10 years ago and the way that the companies were set up. That cash of £854,000 had been spent on maintenance by the East Lancs Railway, and the East Lancs Railway's accounts showed that it owed the same amount to the holdings company. These amounts cancelled out at the time of transfer, and this has confirmed the solvency of the railway group. The exercise resulted in a published surplus, as identified by Horsfield and Smith, who are the company's auditors, of £374,000. However, the real losses for 2020, before the transfer from ELRH, were substantial at around £480,000. This is after massive support from outside sources, and the staff of the company and the volunteers and everybody else are to be thanked for their absolutely massive efforts finding grants. Without these grants, the future of the railway would have been extremely bleak. However, it's not all doom and gloom. The company, as Tracy has said earlier, has started to recover in 2021 and has seen strong sales since the end of lockdown. The directors, who are strategy, of course, not day-to-day, strategy, have a plan in place that expects the company to recover from its loss-making position of 2020. And if the Santa event can be run, cross fingers, the company expects to show a surplus for 2021. I won't break Kath's figures, because I know she's coming up with some figures in the moment that I'm extremely proud of, both in numbers and in terms of revenue. Even without Santa's, a small loss or break-even position would be the result in 2021. The railway is confidently expected to return to underlying profits in 2022, at which stage increased repair and improvement spend can be introduced in a controlled manner. you've not been able to sit in board and say no, 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 or yes, 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 but let's make sure that we've got through Christmas first, because we've got quite a lot of expenditure that's been asked for by various directors, long-standing commitments, track, rolling stock, etc. Some enhancements IT-wise, and also some enhancements staff-wise. Most of those have been agreed to, but we'll have to wait a little while until we've made sure we've got through Santa's. The figures given above will be reported to the Charity Commission for public information, and the accounts provide a base from which future financial performance can be reported. Now, the figures for 2020 are in fact on Companies House website. They've been there for over a month, and despite all the explanations and people telling us how bad we are, there hasn't been a single comment from anybody yet. I am open to comments, but please not tonight. I want them properly done. And if you will speak to me about strategy stuff, please, and let Kath get on with the day-to-day role that is vital to the railway. She's worse with money than I ever was. So just be careful. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Let me move this slide on. Okay, yeah, thank you very much for that, David. Very well put. And to echo David and Tracy, like the way that everyone's pulled together these last 18 months has been amazing, and I don't think we'd be here right now if it wasn't for everyone's efforts in doing so. So thank you. So running through revenue, so this is all the headline turnovers of all the events and things that have gone on so far this year. So we reopened the pubs in April, then we reopened the railway in May, and the first event was the Diesel Gala in July. So that was our sort of test event to see how things are going to go. It went really well. We had turnover of 50,000, and then we had, because we had to keep costs low, we had an event contribution of 46,000, which means £46,000 went back into the railway to keep it going for the maintenance and everything. Moving on to the August Thomas Day weekend, this was sold at social distanced seating, and turnover was 38k with an event contribution of 15,000. Then we had Flying Scotsman, turnover of which was 276k plus 22k of diners, meaning 298 grand. Then we had the September Diesel Gala. This was turnover of 18k and event contribution of 14. Again, keeping costs low. Then we had the Thomas weekend in October, beginning of October. That had turnover of 53 grand and an event contribution of 20 grand. Then the next week, a couple of weekends after that, was the October Steam Gala, where we had turnover of 47,000 and an event contribution of 15,000, which is good for an enthusiastic gala. Then more recently, we've had Halloween. So we had the children's event and the Fright Night event. So the children's event, we had £67,000 worth of revenue. The Fright Night at the museum was about 2.5 grand. That was us dipping our toe in the water to see what it was going to be like. And I think it will be a success. It was a success. We broke even on that particular small event. But I think going forward, if we push it, it could be quite a lucrative revenue stream. Then we move on to diners. So diners up to the end of October, but excluding Scotsman that I've already disclosed, we've had sales of 389k. Then advanced sales, just for travel, up to the end of October, we've sold 224 grand's worth. And then pay on the day, same, to the end of October, was 160k. So things there are looking positive, and it gives us hope for the future, and certainly for the rest of this year with any luck. The income statement for the ELR in 2021 is looking positive. All events that have taken place so far, as you can see, have gone well. Footfall has been high and we've kept costs low wherever possible. As such, an expected break-even position at the end of the year is much improved on the loss that we could have been expecting if things hadn't gone quite so well. However, we do continue to be cautious revenue-wise and cash-wise until the 24th of December, when the Santas are done and out of the way and we've got them. Then we need to be aware that there's always going to be that chance that there's something might not happen or not take place. So that's always in the back of our minds. As Tracy mentioned, we do have a capital plan for 2022 for various investments that have been obviously put off for a couple of years of the railway, mainly track and other things around the railway that do need to be maintained. But basically after that, we would be looking to, if we've got the Santas away and we've had a good year in 2021 and we've effectively broke even, we will look to start to invest, not necessarily invest into the railway, so that we can continue as we go on and for future years. So 2022 is our aim, as David mentioned, to aim for, which should go well. I think that's it from me. Who is next?
Thank you, Kath. Right, I'm going to pretend to be Lee now. All right. Unless Lee's in the room, which I don't think he is. Effectively, 2021, catch up on maintenance work and rolling stock fleet, and that is basic maintenance. What we do need to do, 2022, is catch up with the paint work, because as I'm sure you'll see, the coaches are looking a little bit tired. It's the Lancashire weathering policy, but mechanically, we'll keep them going. Superficially and cosmetically, we will come round to that in 2022. So they do need a repaint. There's been a massive demand on supporting operations from Lee's traction and rolling stock team this year in supplying shunting staff and also footplate crews. We've got to say a massive thank you, but that has held back that department enormously. And hopefully we'll have got away from that by now, because we've taken on 2 new positions, and hopefully we will be able to get on with some proper maintenance work. Small machine shop concreting and wiring has been undertaken, and also we've done loads of staging work in carriage and wagon, which has been absolutely brilliant. But a massive thank you to the supplier of the concrete who did it at a knocked off mates rates, because otherwise it would have cost us a fortune. So for 2022, steam locos, continue with the progress on the Ginty, begin restoration of 45337 in collaboration with the local owners, a retube for Gothenburg, and a project plan and begin fundraising for the Crab. Crab is on my priorities list. We need to get on with that. Carriage fleet repainting 6 vehicles during 2022, uplift and renovation work of the toilets on the trains, steam heat repairs and renewals, retire of coaching stock. That's also a massive job that is going to be, it's not just a tyre turning job, it is a retiring. So it's going to be a big investment, is that, but one that we absolutely have to do. Diesel loco fleet, creation of steam volunteers to assist with the repair of the diesel shunter fleet, and improved diesel loco servicing capabilities with bulk drain and refill of oil systems. Barron Street site, the replacement of the shutters for the loco works. That's because the old doors are in a state of disrepair at the moment, that at any moment it is one gust away from a bonfire, if not an injury. So they're being replaced. General site clearance tidy up to continue. We've made massive inroads with that up until we went into lockdown, and then it seems like the vegetation's taken over. Yeah. And replacement wheel and track lubricators for Bury South and Hayward stations to be installed. So that's me, Ala Lee. Next slide, please. Jeff.
Oh, this is me.
You push your banana.
Yeah, I've had my banana.
Oh, jolly good. Will you have a quick rundown of your operations for 2022, please?
Yes, well, first of all, we're looking at a lockout system, which has already been designed, and we've got the parts. So that will enable us to protect staff working in Bury Station. That's hoping to be done by the end of January. Obviously won't be done in time for Christmas, end of January. The S&T are also looking at making the line between Bury South and Heywood to be track circuited.
Jeff, can I just interrupt for a
Yes.
moment? Could you explain what you mean by a lockout protection? Because I'm sure there are some people on here, including me, who are not sure what you mean.
Right, basically, lockout protection is to lock the signals out so the signalman can't operate the signals in the box. So, for instance, if the station staff, if they want to go on platform 3 and 4 to clean the platforms, they operate a switch on the station, which then prevents the signalman from clearing his signals into and out of platform 3, 2 and 3, or platform 4, as the case. So they've got it on the North Yorkshire Moors, they've got it on many places, but we've managed to do this relatively cheaply and easily with the help of John. So track circuit block to Heywood, that will enable us to have 2 independent ground frames at Otwood and Green Lane, so we don't have to wait for Network Rail turning up to take the trains onto the network, and likewise they don't have to wait for us to turn up to bring trains onto our network. Protection of staff working on the through sidings, the boards are in place. It's just a matter now of sitting down with Stuart MacDonald and coming up with a method of working. That's so we can protect the guards when they're inspecting the vehicles on carriage sidings. I've done a review of the permissive working after the events up at Pickering. They've seemed to have banned permissive working, apart from attaching and detaching and when it's planned. But what they've put in place is that the signalman must advise the driver that there's a train in the platform. Now, I don't think that works, because if the signalman pulls off the wrong way into thinking he's pulling off into an empty platform, and he actually pulls off into a occupied platform, he wouldn't tell him anyway. So I think they're making a bit of a mistake with that. One of the things I've looked at to improve permissive working is tail lamps. So we need to improve our tail lamps, which we've done. That's twofold, because one, our tail lamps will now be LEDs, which means we don't need to store paraffin in the guards buildings. And while we've been looking at that, we've also decided to put LEDs on the crossings at Townsend Fold and Ramsbottom. Again, we shouldn't be keeping paraffin in signal boxes. The rule book review, which has been taking some time because of the main problem is we simply can't sit down and work as a group, but that will be done hopefully in January during the quiet period. The ORR gave us permission to run at 60 on the Heywood line for the Linsinger. They've now disappeared and gone off onto the network. We've got a couple of projects in the pipeline which should bring us some extra money in for some trials with different types of machines, which will take place next autumn. I'd just like to go back to the Cyrus thing for 1 minute. I think Tracy said, see it, report it. I think a good saying for operations is see it, stop it, report it. And I think that's what we should all be putting on the bottom of our letters. So if you see something being done wrong, you stop it and you report it. Because if it's not being stopped and not being reported, we'll go end up with major problems. So I'd like our motto to be see it, stop it, report it. And that's me.
Thank you, Jeff. Next, please. Martin. Are you in, Martin? No, clearly not. Right, Martin.
Yes, you're right. Sorry, I was actually just cribbing for this presentation.
Oh, bless you. Well, go on. Go on. Have a run through, because you're the champion of this. So please.
Yes, so thank you very much for that. So yes, so the Passenger and Customer Service Department probably, if you look back to last year, probably didn't really sort of exist. It's sort of come to fruition due to substantial changes last year, and it's become an amalgamation of the Passenger Service Department and the Stations Department. And it's been quite a challenging year, that change and that amalgamation. But I'd like to actually start with a massive big thank you to 4 very fundamental, important people who've assisted me throughout this process. And that's the 4 station masters at Hayward, Bury, Ramsbottom and Rottenstall. So to Bob, Jeff, Chandra and Graham, you've been absolutely amazing, helping guiding me through all this process, and you're absolutely amazing people. So thank you very much for all your help, and especially pointing out when I get it wrong. And I think I've got it wrong quite a few times, and you've been very good at that. So thank you so much for all your help and assistance with that. You're absolutely brilliant. So now moving on to what we've achieved in 2021. So Mark will probably touch a bit more on the launch of the new website. So I'll skip to the next point. So we've renewed our ticketing relationship with Key Tickets, who have been absolutely amazing, who are absolutely amazing in 2020. And they've been a real vital and integral part of pushing forward the next point, which means starting next year, subject to a successful Santa operation, we'll be introducing an electronic point of sale in the booking offices and our retail outlets. Now, in the booking offices, this will work in tandem with our current Edmondson system. So we can have a modern back office system and still retain that heritage sort of feel and point of sale. This will allow us to garner information that we've never been able to garner before, or information we have been able to garner before, but have taken considerable time by amalgamating several thousand spreadsheets together, where at the press of a button, we can get all this information now. So we've actually started piloting that system in Bury, and so far it's been quite successful. There's been a massive deficiency across the railway as we open of credit card machines. So we've actually invested in some more credit card machines that can easily be transported around the railway, and they're quite easy and quite simple to use. Gary has developed a customer services vision policy, which I believe he presented at the last Open Forum, but if anyone still would require a copy of that, just let me know and we can get that out to you. Now, the next bit I'm really, really happy about because it's actually gone amazingly. So we introduced a post-event survey. So anybody that books in advance online will now get 24 hours later a little survey made up of 7 little questions. It's all anonymous, and we can get instantaneous feedback. And we have surveyed approximately, I had a look before, around 12,000 people. So we're now just getting all that data in. And I'm going to be putting together all the free text format, all the feedback that we've had, which are made available to everybody to actually read. But there's just one area on this I'd really like to highlight. And now this is where my mouse doesn't decide to work. Two of the questions were, how do you rate your experience and how do you rate our staff? So on the how do you rate your experience, out of all those people surveyed, over 97% said their experience was absolutely excellent. And the most important question, how do you rate our staff? Overwhelmingly, around 98% of those surveys came back and said all our staff were very good. So it doesn't matter whether you work in the local works, work on the stations, work anywhere across the railway, each and every single one of you has actually helped in some way to get in that top rate. It's actually a testament to every single person that gets up at ridiculous time in the morning, comes to the railway and keeps the railway working. You have achieved that yourself. So I think you all deserve a little pat on the back for that. And finally, good news for me and probably my entire department is that I get a brand new assistant starting next week who actually comes from the volunteer workforce. It's a wonderful chap called Callum Baisley. He has been a TTI for 10 years and is also, I believe, a past cleaner on the footplate. So you'll be getting to see a lot more of him. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to give you that little speech. Sorry, it's a bit rushed, but I've discovered that I absolutely don't like talking to a lot of people in one go.
You've done a fantastic job, Martin. And I have to say, Martin's responsible for the majority of people last year transferring the tickets rather than asking for a refund. So despite the fact that was a massive workload for Martin, it saved us so much in having to refund. So Well done, Martin. I do believe you've got another slide coming up as well.
Oh, have I? Oh, right. I didn't.
Yeah, look at
so
this.
actually, yeah,
You've
so
done a
there we go.
service
So I
highlight.
didn't realise I had a second slide.
Oh,
So guess who didn't understand how to do PowerPoint and got somebody else to do it for them?
well, I
But
think
yeah,
the
so
scouts-
so as I mentioned in the survey previously, so we've taken some highlights to actually show how well we really do within the eyes of the customer. We do absolutely brilliantly. Of course, there are some areas of improvement. One of the questions, like I mentioned previously, was like a free text box, and some of the things that kept coming up overall was it's more generic things about the overall presentation of the stations, even though our station masters do an absolutely amazing job across the board. And if anybody gets down to Haywood, go and see Bob's boxes. They're absolutely stunning. Bob's done a brilliant job down there. You've got Chandra in a presentation up at Ramsbottom, which is absolutely sublime. Graham's done a fantastic job up at Rottenstall as well. So hats off to you guys for doing that. So toilet facilities. Now toilets keep coming up quite a bit. They've come up on the Visit England survey and they've now come up in here. So I will be speaking to Kath later on towards the end of this year, once we've had a successful Santa operation, to see if I can get a little bit of cash to spruce up all the toilets across the line. Believe it or not, it's a small area, but it has a massive impact on what customers think of our facilities. There's a few areas on the booking process that actually needs highlight, that needs sort of streamlining and making it a bit more seamlessly. I started showing some of the details with them with Key today. We've actually just changed the layout of the Santa special booking page and actually made it more visible with less clicks to find out what's available. So if you want to have a look, you can have a look at that now for you. Do I have another slide or am I free to take a breath now?
I think you can go for a cup of tea now.
Thank you.
Mark, it's your turn, Marky Mark. Hello.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, Marky Mark, we've streamlined yours into one slide.
Okay, unfortunately I've had to use the phone on 4G because I've got no internet in the office.
Oh, that's
so,
another on my job list, that.
Okay, so I'm going to just turn my phone around so I can read from the slides. Right, so I just thought it would be worth highlighting what we achieved in 2021, and Kath sort of alluded to that with some of the results, but wind back to, in fact, before the 12th of April, and Martin mentioned the new website. Yes, we have a new website online, and I think the majority, if not all of that, was paid for thanks to a grant. So I think David mentioned about Dawn Sexton being one of the heroes of the railway, and I think she was involved in that bid. So big thank you to Dawn and to everybody involved in securing that money. So yeah, we have a new website, and then on the 12th of April we reopened the pubs. I have to say that the first, I think it was for 5 weeks, we were operating outdoors and doing a table service. Effectively, we're asking a lot of our staff, and it was actually very challenging trying to carry out pints, full pints on a tray out to people on the platform. And special thank you not just to the paid staff, but also to Eileen and I think John McNeil and anyone else that I've left off that helped us do meet and greet. And of course, I think it's a big relief for us all that we're able to go back to ordinary bar service. The May Bank holiday, we celebrated the 30th anniversary of going to Rottenstall, and we did really well with some discounted tickets. 21st of May, we returned the dining train to service. And actually, we were one of the few heritage railways that kept our seats for dining on sale. I think Mid-Hants, or was it Bluebell, that also kept their seats on sale. So, and I think that that's really helped us with the success that we've had with the dining train this year. 30th of June, we welcomed Lorna Massey, our new sales and events manager, to the team. And Lorna's been absolutely brilliant getting stuck into our events. Lorna's got a lot of experience with weddings and comes from a hotel hospitality background. 1st to the 3rd of July, of course, we had the Diesel Gala. That was run during Tier 3 restrictions, if my memory serves me correctly. So we had to all try and stay away from each other, but at the same time, try and enjoy with the railway being busy again. 24th and 25th of July, we were quite busy as well because we had a small wedding reception on the platform at Ramsbottom. We also hosted the fans of Bury AFC. So this is a team that's come out of the ashes of the local football club. And their fans travelled up on our trains up to Ramsbottom for a local derby. And then the following day we did Race the Train. So when the steam train sets off heading east upon the whistle from the steam train, the race starts. Following weekend, we had a wedding and dining reception on the platform, and it wasn't just that day as well, but it was also all the phone calls and all the visits that we had from the couple that were getting married to get everything organised. And I think it went really well on the day and on the evening. And special thanks to Andy and also to Lorna for arranging all that. Of course, we operated Thomas on the 7th and 8th of August. That was actually quite a challenge because obviously we wanted to put tickets on sale, but we had no guarantee as to whether we were going to be away from restrictions. And actually the restrictions that we thought were going to be released from mid-June were actually put back to middle of July. But I'm glad that we made Thomas happen. It's slightly redesigned so that people get a ride up behind Thomas in the carriages, which are slightly more weatherproof than the open carriages that people are used to. Then, of course, we went into our home diesel gala. We did Dinky Dinosaurs. We were quite successful with that, but we had to carefully manage people on the day. We saw a huge sales boost overnight, so we had to quickly get all hands on deck to try and manage people on the day. We had another wedding on the 28th of August, and then, of course, it was the biggie, Flying Scotsman. And, you know, we did really well with Flying Scotsman. Nearly £300,000 worth of revenue over 5 steaming days. If you compare that to 2018, we did more or less the same revenue, but over 10 days. So we were really pleased with that. And of course, a lot of the revenue was taken before the first lockdown. So I think that was a real important weekend or 2 weekends for us with Flying Scotsman. Then, of course, we did rinse and repeat for Thomas. We upped our visitor numbers and also increased the amount of entertainment at the Transport Museum. We had the Steam Gala, so that was our first Steam Gala in 19 months. And then Halloween. I think, in my humble opinion, Halloween is the most enjoyable part of being here. I love the 3 nights that we do, and really delighted with the fact that we put Halloween tickets on sale, I think back in end of February, maybe March time, and offered tickets at last year's prices. And the putting them on sale early also provides the travel trade with the opportunity of getting tickets on sale to their customers. So that was really successful for us. Fright at the Museum, we were delighted with, bearing in mind it wasn't on sale that long before the dates took place. And with Democracy, we're able to bring in people taking photographs and also video for both the ghost trains and also the Fright at the Museum. That's really important for us because we need that marketing collateral to help us promote for next year. And of course, Fright, we're hoping that this will be a regular museum-based event and an event dedicated in that area. We've got events coming up, of course. DMU Gala, which is all set for this weekend. And glad to see we're running the Pacer. I'm sure not everybody's a fan of the Pacers, but I think it's good that we're reaching out to the younger generation. Of course, Santa starts on the 27th of November. We're not far off £900,000 in terms of revenue for that. I think there's seats still available on the first weekend and also on the first couple of weekdays in the run up to Christmas. We're looking at a new museum-based only event on the 24th. We're going to try out and see if it works for us. Then perhaps we can ramp that up for next year. And then, of course, we've got a mince pie and whiskey chasers over the Christmas period. And then, of course, we lock down and we do some. Perhaps if I can we go to the next slide if that's okay? Okay, lovely, thank you. So highlights for 2022, we're actually going to be closing the railway for a period of time, and actually there's going to be 2 closure periods. One is for the majority of January, and then there's a small period where we're closed in March, and we've got external contractors, I think, coming in for that, which is why that second closure is necessary. We're going to be running some training trains for the 29th and 30th of January and the first weekend in February. And hopefully we can advertise those trains. But I think that the priority is to get people trained up. It's an opportunity to get those people trained up that need training. We've got the Winter Diesel Gala on the 12th of February, Spring Steam Gala slightly earlier this year on the 25th to the 27th of February. That'll be interesting to see how that performs, bearing in mind that we usually run the same weekend as Keighley or near to that weekend. We circulated the matrix a little while ago, but actually we've had some feedback, and following a review, we've actually reinstated some of the term time midweek days. So instead of starting our midweek term time days on June the 15th, we're actually going to start from May the 11th. 1940s event, we're running from the 3rd to the 5th of June. That's Friday to Sunday. That's because of the Platinum Jubilee. So we're Friday to Sunday rather than Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And then we're doing a Lancashire and Yorkshire 100th anniversary. That is just basically a set of dates as it stands at the moment. We don't have any more details than that at the moment, but we're going to try and put some more flesh on the bone. The remainder of the year is more or less the same as what you would expect from 2019. One thing to point out is the matrix that we drafted for this year, we did do in consultation with the heads of departments, and some of the feedback that came back was no more than 5 consecutive days for Santa. That's one of the things that we've taken on board. Okie doke.
Thank you, Mark. That's brilliant.
Yes. One thing just to point out is our fares are going up by about 8%. I mean, I have to say that I looked at the price of coal a couple of weeks ago and it gone up 128%. And now it's gone up 165%. I mean, that is eye-watering. So I hope everybody understands that.
As well.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's just hopefully people can understand where we're coming from, with the need to raise prices a little bit.
Yeah, I think if the coal price keeps on going, it will need another shuffle. However, thank you very much, Mark. That's great. Right, I'm going to speak about the elephant in the room, which is commute lines and the Restoring Your Railways project. And I'm basically going to keep this short and sweet, because this has been done without the consent of the ELR or the ELR Trust, because it is actually against the constitution of the ELR Trust, which Rochdale, Rossendale, Bury and the ELR are all equal partners in. So it's without collaboration, and from where I'm coming from, we will support the future of the heritage lines to be run by volunteers all the way. There is no going to be easy rollover. There's been no active engagement on this. It has been literally done against the vote of the ELR Trust trustees, which was 3-1, and that was going back 2 years. So it's there, it's in the public domain. If it was challenged legally, some of those comments in there are outrageous, absolutely outrageous. It is going to be fight all the way on this one. There will be engagement, but there will be engagement in a different context, really, because this is against what the objectives of the ELR Trust is set up for. Okay, we're on to any questions now, so go for it.
Right, thanks, Kath. Just before I go to the ones I've received previously, I'm just looking at chat, and there's an interesting one come up from Neil Carr, which I think Jeff may be able to answer. Why did we cancel running on the 28th of December? I presume he means this coming year.
Yeah, Mike, just before I do that, can I
Yeah.
just explain the tail lamps? The tail lamps are
Right, yeah.
not the modern flashing ones. They are our own white tail lamps, which have been converted. So I'll just spin my laptop. So that's, if you can see it, I've got one on.
No, it's a glass of wine, Jeff.
Can you see that?
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
So that's the, and you can have it on a constant light if you want. So you can either have it as a flame or a constant light, and they're so much brighter than the paraffin ones.
Okay. Thank you very much. I do worry about what you've got in your living room, but each to their own.
Well, I will say that they on the flashing mode, when you put it on the flicker, they do last for around about, on a full charge, which takes about 4 hours. They will last for 72 hours.
Oh, well done.
If you have it on a constant one, you get about 9.5 hours off a six-hour charge. So I think that's a vast improvement. I think the 26th of December was just simply to break the timetable up, to give people an extra day off in between, rather than working right the way through. It's a simple answer.
We're doing the 26th and the 27th. I don't know what the day of the week the 28th is.
We had a review of the Christmas dates actually when we talked about the 2022 matrix with the heads of department. Actually, that was something discussed at that meeting, and I think we all agreed to remove the 28th to give people a break.
Normally the 25th and 26th would be a bank holiday, but they are the weekend. So this coming year, the 27th and 28th will be bank holidays. But the choice is made not to run for 4 consecutive days. That's fine. That's the decision that's been made.
There was also one other thing. I mean, we were hoping to run with Union in South Africa in the last weekend of December, stroke January, if that makes sense. And of course, we've obviously that's not going to happen now. So we removed the 31st of December as well. That was tentatively in the diary, but we removed that.
Fine. Thanks for that. I'm going to go now to a number of questions that have been sent in over the last few weeks, really. The first one is from Bill Horton, who, and I put it on to chat if you want to read. It's not a very long one, this one. Some of them are much longer than this one. What are the next steps planned for the first aid initiative?
Well, the next steps are simply to do some more first aid training in January. We decided to not to do it during Halloween and Christmas, and actually look at doing some events during January when we're on shutdown, so staff can at least have something to come in and do. So we will be planning some more first aid classes, and they'll be open to people to attend.
Sorry, Jeff, can I correct that? Mike, that wasn't a question. I was going to just say what Jeff had just said.
Oh,
Right.
right.
I wondered
That was a
because
statement. I mean, fundamentally, it's been wiped out by the white hot excitement over Halloween and rerunning and Santa. So it's just a case of doing that. Can I just add a couple of little bits to what Jeff has said? I'll be sending out a reminder in the near future, and then again after Christmas. The heads of departments and teams look at what they need within their groups, because the sponsors of this project are Kath, Jeff and Tracy, all of whom have done the courses. But we are identifying several cohorts. If you're rubbing shoulders with Joe Public, and particularly kids, you probably would be well advised to do something with kids in it. Then there are the higher risk areas. So Lee's lads, they need to redo a full 3-day course. For many people, a 1-day course would be it. And I think that's about it, isn't it, Jeff?
Yeah, to be honest, Bill, when I read the question, I thought, I wonder why he's asking the question when he knows all that. So
no, it wasn't a question. It was just kind of make a statement.
I apologise. I think I may have changed the phrase very slightly to turn it into a question, because I did ask for questions and not statements.
No, I did say, can I make a statement?
All
I
right.
have to say, Bill, I
Can I ask my question now, though?
I'm going to put on chat now Bill's second question, which would probably be a Tracy one, I think. Who is the contact point and advisor for potential new working members? This is on chat. I have inherited several to the civil engineers who have struggled to access the departments in which they would like to work. So they've actually come to us in civil engineers, and we've had at least 13 new recruits in 2021 in civil engineers that I know of. Bill may have a few more in his side that I have not been told about.
I think this has been identified by the volunteer pathway as a problem across the railway, is how we identify where people go and how they get into their departments. And some people by default end up going into a department because there isn't a vacancy in the other. But actually, it all needs to be centralised and brought through a point of contact, volunteer liaison, get them sorted. And actually, what's wrong with experience in different departments if you eventually find where you want to settle? But I think this is so true on many aspects for Volunteer Pathway. Have highlighted it.
So where do we find it, Tracy?
Where do we find it?
Yep.
I do believe it's not as a written. Sorry about this. Got going here.
I thought using the
It's
signal
not as
box
simple
then.
as a written procedure because we're not there yet. We're
All
going to
right,
clarify
okay.
it and we're going to share it with everybody. But it has been highlighted. The pathway for volunteers to come is very haphazard, and it shouldn't be. It should be very clear, and we should be buddying up and saying, "Come on in," rather than, "Oh no, you need to do your basic safety and medical first." That is true. However, we do need to make it clear. So we will be publishing the process. And if that looks like a flowchart, so be it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy.
I have to say, Bill, you're in a very exotic location.
Oh, no, he's not. It's all
Scarborough.
Beautiful.
Scarborough. Right, the next question is one of two from Graham Law at Ramsbottom. It's quite a long one. I will read it out. Not at Ramsbottom, Rottenstall. And it's on chat if you want to follow my reading. Why are ordinary passengers not... Sorry, what? Why are ordinary passengers not being catered for on the Santa trains? By not carrying ordinary passengers, we are losing income and also the goodwill of local people and possibly others who just want a train ride, and the residents of the Rossendale area who would like to do some last-minute shopping in Bury, for example. Ordinary passengers have been carried in the past without any problem. One compartment in the BSK being reserved for the band and the staff to have a break.
I think this comes back down to how you cover so many bases in an uncertain world. And to set up the Santas this year, first of all, we were going to do it socially distanced, and we've decided that we're not doing that. But in the provision of when we were originally setting it up, that coach was taken out so we could socially distance different people in different changing compartments and different rest areas. And that's the top and bottom of it. It's not about prejudicing against anybody. It's not about putting people off. It is simply, in the uncertain world that we were set up in, that's what it was for.
Fine. Okay. Thanks.
There is 3 hands up there, Mike.
3 hands. Oh, I do apologise. Yes, there are. I wasn't looking at the hands up. We'll go in the order on my screen, which is Kath at the first.
Thank you. Yes, I just wanted to point out the original reason why we used to allow ordinary passengers onto the Santa trains was for VAT purposes. The VAT man allowed us to make it a VAT exempt service if our ordinary passengers were allowed. However, since then, we've applied for dispensation from HMRC for Santas together with Halloween's, whiskey chasers, mince pie specials and other things, that they are actually classed as VAT exempt without having ordinary passengers on there. So that's just another reason why we don't have to, and we can repurpose those compartments elsewhere.
Thanks, Kath. Mark?
Yeah, there's one thing to point out that this year, and actually we've been using the audio with Thomas and also with Halloween. The audio was installed last year, and we plan to use it this year. So we're going to need a compartment for the team at Alibi, because what we don't want is people activating the audio in the guards compartment, because then we get in the way of the guard. Also, we need plenty of room as green rooms for people to be able to have a break, including for Santa. Not that there's more than one Santa, of course. So the other thing, of course, is if we are not stopping at some of these stations, it actually gives us a bit extra scope to recover a bit of time on the day. I appreciate we're still crossing trains at Ramsbottom, but it might just help us recover a bit of time.
Thanks, Mark. Jeff had his hand up, but he's disappeared.
I was going to mention virtually what Mark said about the Santas, changing rooms and such like. I also like to say, actually, because they are Santas with the amount of children on, we actually know everyone. We've virtually got names of everyone who's on board. If you start letting people join at intermediate stations, that makes it very hard for track and trace, should we need to do it.
Fine. Okay. Thanks, Jeff. The second question from Graham, I've put on chat as well, not as long as that one. Why has the events group and the fairs review group both been removed? These two groups did an excellent job of organising events, especially the family events, and settling the fairs.
I do believe this was a board decision a good few years back, because it's been a fair few years since the fairs groups met. So it was originally put that actually finance should be the steerers as well as commercial for the direction of fairs. So to meet with the demands of Miss Kath Richards' bank accounts, that's the main fundamental reason. But I do believe it came as a board decision that was actually going to be delegated down rather than the fairs group. The events group hasn't met in the time that I've been here, so I don't know where they came from or what they do. But if anybody wants to help, please get stuck in.
I can probably help you there, Kath. The events group definitely does precede almost every one of the employees on the railway at the moment, almost anyway. David Wright was the chair and I was secretary of the events group. The problem we had was that many of the events managers were still at work and wanted to have meetings at 7:30 in the evening. And it was important that the staff came to us to have an input, but they obviously did not want to come at 7:30 in the evening, and Zoom had not been invented at that time. So it sort of became very difficult to get the two sides together. And we increased the strength of the events team within the company, which basically meant that they were doing far more of the administration, and the events committee, as we call ourselves, just basically faded away. I've got two hands up now. Mark was first, and then Nigel Barnes after that. Mark first.
Thanks, Mike. Okay, so we actually have, I think, a number of informal event committees, if you like. I mean, for example, when we were planning the Diesel Gala in July, I think we had maybe 3, maybe 4 out-of-hours Zoom calls to discuss how we were going to run the event and what we could do and to make it interesting and exciting. We had a 1940s meeting, I think, January or February 2020, of course, before the first lockdown, of various people are interested. And I know that Nigel has reached out to us since then, and obviously Stephen's very interested in 1940s event. So I think we're very interested in hearing from people if they want to help out and also to help with planning. I mean, we it's not a closed door. And if people haven't got my email address, it's mark.hill@eastlancsrailway.co.uk. And we'd be very happy to hear from you, and also not just with planning, but also helping on the day. So, you know, for example, with Thomas, it's very Bury centric. So if you want to come and help us at things like Thomas, and perhaps you cover another area, then we'd be very happy to hear from you. And the same for Santa as well.
Thanks, Mark. Nigel?
Yes, I've typed a message in chat but I don't know how to send it.
Just press return on your keyboard, Nigel,
Return.
or enter, or the key with a big arrow pointing upwards. On the right-hand side, usually. The biggest key on the right-hand side. Oh, the
No.
arrow points to the left on mine, actually.
Right, something is not happening. Okay.
Just tell us what it was you said then, Nigel.
Well, okay. Well, 3 months ago, during a telephone conversation with Mike Kelly, he and I agreed that lessons must be learned from the Llangollen experience. But are we learning? Already the Crab is mortgaged, any other asset. Thus, the Llangollen members had to buy back that which was once theirs because of this management approach. Mortgage is a debt and should surely be included in tonight's meeting of financial overview. That's what I
I would
wanted to
like-
send.
Yeah, I would like to clarify the Crab absolutely, definitely, 100% is not mortgaged.
Well, I've seen
It
some.
is wholly owned by the ALR company. There is no mortgage on the Crab.
Well, I've seen this. I've seen some paperwork which says otherwise.
Mike, can I?
Well, where you've
can-
seen it, I do not know.
Tracy
Mike, can I
David
come in?
wants to come in. David?
Yeah, can I come in on that one? The Crab is not mortgaged. Just to let people aware, at the possible lowest point of our cash flow, we approached the ELR Trust to cover ourselves, and they were extremely great. Well, they were extremely gracious and granted us a loan of £300,000. Now, that loan was taken with security against the railway's assets. Okay, so Nigel is possibly correct that at the time that was the case. However, since then, because of an extremely generous anonymous donation, that money to the trust has been repaid back. However, if you do go on to Companies House, you will see that the LR Trust does still have a mortgage against us. Now, that is being worked on. I know Kath's looked at it, I've looked at it, Peter Nittle's looked at it. The trust, we don't owe the trust any money. The assets of the company are not mortgaged other than to NatWest on a general debenture, which has been in place for many, many years. So that the Crab is fully owned by the East Lancs Railway Company. It's sad that it's in bits.
Nigel, do you want to come back? Because you've got the hand up. Oh, it's not now. Nigel,
I'll have to think about the answer it's just been given.
okay, but you have got two other questions on the screen, Nigel. Do you want me to put them, or are you not bothered?
Is the other one about City of
Wells.
Wells?
I'll put them on. They're on chat now for anybody who wants to look at them. I think they are. Everyone's gone, they've disappeared. I'll do that again then. I thought I'd put them on. No, I know Steve Brown's gone and superseded them. Right. So Nigel says questions about the City of Wells. Why weren't the membership canvassed before the purchase of City of Wells? And secondly, having now bought it, why does this high value asset not better earn its keep by being put into steam more often?
Can I come back on that one, Mike? The City of Wells locomotive is owned by the East Lancs Light Railway Company Limited, not the ELRPS. The ELRPS is a supporting organisation of the railway. They are stakeholders, they are not shareholders. We do not have any shareholders. I find it a somewhat surprising question, as the engine has been in our ownership now for, what, 4 or 5 years? I can't answer the other one, Nigel.
I can, it needs a new fire grate.
Right, well, there you go.
Kath's spending machine was asked to donate some the other day. She had to be given gas and air though at the same time.
Yeah, I can see where the question's coming from, but we're back to the railway. The ELLR company runs the railway. The ELRPS supports the railway. There's your difference. The decisions are made by the ELLR Company Limited. Now, at the time, if you want some background on the City of Wells purchase, I can quite easily give it to you. It was offered to us at a much reduced commercial price because the original owners of it wanted it to remain on the railway. I am sure that if I give you the financial figures, you'd be surprised at what we got it for compared to what the actual commercial value was. At the time, we were looking to augment the fleet to give ourselves a good mix of home engines and hire engines. Standard 480097 wasn't ready. The Crab, we just, I think, repaid the loan of the first time. So the City of Wells was in effect coming to us as an engine that was in effect steaming free, because the steaming cost against it was simply paid back on the loan that we took out. Yes, some members were generous. Yes, some outside parties were extremely generous. So the actual cost to the company of City Wells, I think the actual price we paid for it was over £500,000, and the amount outstanding on it now is reducing like the clappers. We still do owe money on it, but it is our asset and it's there for future use.
Thanks, David. The next question is from Steve Brown. I put it onto chat. He's oh, I haven't. It's gone again. Let's see if I can do it. Keep having mouse problems on here. I don't quite know why. We'll do that again. It's a very long question. It's still not coming out. Essentially, Steve is asking why it's not. My chat's not working. I don't know why my chat's not working. No, it's not working. Basically, Steve put a very long question, and he's asking why we don't treat the halts particularly at Irwell Vale and Somerset as what do you call the phrases?
Request stop.
Request stop, that's right. So they inform the guard if you want to stop, or you put your hand out to stop the trains it's going through. He mentions the fact that they do it at Newtondale on the North Yorkshire Moors, and one or two other places, and how it actually operates. So, Jeff, you want to come back in on this one?
Yeah, request stops I've had a look at, and I think it's a good idea, but personally, I think it's probably in the areas that we're in, I could see a situation where kids will turn up and stick their hand out for the train to stop and then disappear, and they'll start playing games with it. Certainly at Irwell Vale, at Burrs, Irwell Vale, and we'll just end in that situation where we simply don't know. So it's something I might look at, but I need to have a proper look at it. But I do think that the youths in this particular area would simply start playing games with us and sticking their hand out. We start stopping, they run off, and by then we've stopped, and it just won't be worth it. But I will have a proper look at it, Steve. And but that's my own personal feelings at the moment. It's probably not worthwhile.
I think there was a great issue about whether it was permanently a request stop or in the timetable as a request stop, and the potential for mix-up on one or the other. So, yeah, I think it's been looked at before, but we'll always have another look at it, because it's a very valid point, but it's consistency for operations in Brain and on the ground.
Okay, thanks for that. The next question is from Alex, presumably over in Switzerland. And Alex asks, when is the rule book ready to look at on hops?
Well, we're still working on that. Obviously, with lockdown and what's been happening, we can't get together as a group and sit down and review it. And each department took their own bit away, but it probably didn't work that way, because most of the rule book is interconnected between departments. Hopefully, come January, when I appoint a new head of steam, hopefully all the heads should be able to get together, lock ourselves in a room for 2 days, and sort out what we need to keep in the rule book, what we need to take out, and then hopefully it should go on ops. But I can certainly send you a current copy of our rule book via email, if that's what you want to have a look at, or simply wait until end of January when I suspect the new rule book will be out. Is my answer.
Thanks.
Okay, that's fine. Then I'll wait.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks, Jeff.
It
Alex,
might be some bedtime reading.
yeah, right. Thanks. Alex has got another question. Just a word of explanation. Do you want to come in, Mark? Or you just you're muted? You're muted, Mark. You're muted.
Sorry, I was putting my hand up in anticipation of the next question.
Oh, right. Well, let me put the question first.
Okay.
For those people who are not aware, we're not running FXPs at the moment for various reasons, which may be explained in a few seconds. But Alex has, for several years now, been on an individual FXP, which I think we call gold or platinum in our advertising. You can either have 1, 2, or 8 people taking part in FXPs. And Alex has been coming for quite a while, driving celebrity locomotives and so on. And he has asked if there could be better organisation when he comes, and he wants to say a few words about what exactly has happened to him. So it's all yours, Alex.
Okay. Well, Chris from the office, he did, organise bacon butties and fish and chips and all that. But we were looking for tea in the morning in the FXP hut, and we had to look all over the place to make tea. So would it be possible to get one of the footplate experienced people there for the day to look after us? Like Shirley, was done that.
Of course we can arrange that. Yeah. In terms of, I'm sorry that you actually experienced that, because I mean, a cup of tea is a simple commodity, but yeah, of course we can arrange that. The reason why FXPs haven't taken back off in a full capacity is the fact that we are so tight for crews. We are so tight. There's been a number of retirements, which I don't blame them. It just means we're trying to protect as much as possible what we can actually deliver. So I'm sorry about that, Alex. We will certainly get you a cup of tea anytime you want a cup of tea. Kettle's always on here. Can we ask Alex the question of whether he'd be interested to come driving?
Oh, well, I can tell you I've got my first Pfizer shot on just a couple of days ago. And I'm
right, okay. Well, you might be back in the country then.
I'm getting my second dose of government poison, as I always call it, in about 3 weeks, and then I'm going to Midhants Railway to look after Wadebridge, because I don't know how many people know that I'm trying to get Wadebridge back. And then I hope in the new year that I'm going to come back to ELR to drive, to come and drive again.
Yeah, jolly good. Well, it's about time, we got you put through footplate grades, so,
Yeah.
You could actually be part of the presenters of the FXP, Alex.
Oh, good.
As a driver.
I think that's an idea.
Yeah, as a driver, yes. That's where we're short of staff. I've actually run out of questions. There were 3 other questions from one particular department, but the members of staff who they were addressed to or who looked after them have already seen to them, and they've been addressed out of this forum. They were individual questions rather than for a whole group, and I have spoken to the people, and they fully understand why I'm not going to go through them this evening. If I can't see any more questions, any hands being raised, anybody shouting, nothing's coming on. Sorry, who's that?
Mike, it's Mark. Yeah, I've got my hand up. I just wanted to offer an apology to Alex. I think we did. Hopefully, we did got tea and coffee offered from the pub in the end. Is that right?
Yes, well, we had to look for the tea in the FXP hut. We couldn't find anything, but lunch we had in the pub. Fish and chips. Chris from the office, he took care of things.
Yes, okay. And I think also we had some feedback from the Bury Valiant group, the Class 50 group, about perhaps how we might re-establish our diesel FXP. So perhaps, Alex, perhaps we can catch up offline just to talk about FXPs and how we might return those back on sale and how we should be serving people.
Mhm.
All right.
Okay, I thought I'd finish with one very interesting, important question's come through right towards the end from Bill Horton. What is planned for toilets in carriages, which was mentioned in Lee's report? And nobody can answer that because Lee's not here.
Yeah, the toilets in carriages department is currently somewhere else, but as Martin's hot topic, look, we're not going to take them out. We may reduce the number of toilets. However, they are Bogs, Brews and Views are my 3 priorities for life. So toilets are a top priority because I can't go more than 25 minutes without going.
Okay, thanks very much. Right, I think we've
Stuart McDonald's got his hand up, Mike.
not on. Oh, it's right up. It's got a yellow background. No wonder I didn't see it. Yes, it's a cream background on my screen. Sorry, Stuart, you would like to say something?
Yeah, well, ask a question really. COP26 has been pretty high on the television, on the agenda over the last 2 weeks, and I know Manchester as a whole is very keen to see decreases in carbon outputs, etc., etc. And there are other good news that came through today with regards to the Heritage Railway Association and the promises that they've got from the government so that railways themselves won't be impacted by not being able to get coal and not being able to discharge carbon. So at 0.023% of the national output, I think we're liable to save ourselves. I know at some stage we were looking at putting policy out there with regards to carbon sequestration or some such, and I wondered, has that progressed at all?
In terms of the environmental policy situation, we've got a basic environmental policy, but where I'm going with this, and I've got a presentation to do to the Trust, ELR Trust Executive in December, which will also be shared with board, I would have thought at the similar sort of time, is about what we do to minimise our carbon emissions and also manage our line-side habitat in terms of payback. But there is mega issues going to kick off, particularly with coal. And it's not the fact that you can get coal, it's the price we're going to have to pay for it. Because as I mentioned earlier, it's gone up from 170 a tonne to 450 for the Russian in the space of 3 weeks. So, yeah, it's hot topic agenda for the Trust, hot topic for us. Policy will be going to board and then it'll be shared with everybody.
Okay. There is a decision due to be made fairly soon with regards to the coal mine in Cumbria, which will be interesting to everybody, I would imagine, especially after COP26. And that video is available for you, Tracy, on my Atlantic Steel website anytime you need it.
Well, the issue with the coal mine in Cumbria is that that's for coking coal. So that's not suitable for what we're using. But I have had a conversation today with an organisation that have a modern network train that they want to bring or are looking to bring to us next year for trials. But yeah, it's a massive issue. The price of coal, alternatives for diesel. It's going to be it's not going away. I think this is as good as a bigger risk as commuter lines.
Yeah.
Okay. David Leyland's got his hand up and wants to come in.
Yeah, myself and Sean Lee and also Joanne Crompton were at the HRA in York last week. I'm not sure whether Joanne was there for the Lord Faulkner speech, which the Lord Faulkner speech on coal and stuff like that, and the diversity and the how green is your railway actually took one half of the conference up. Lord Faulkner was very good in what he's got. However, there are other areas within government, Clean Air Acts and things like that, that will also potentially cause problems. They're not particularly bothered about things like cold starts, which are more of a problem to diesels, obviously. They're more bothered about black smoke for a start off, but also manage your railway. And, you know, there were a good 90 to 100 delegates there, and it was a 2-day conference, and half of it was given over to diversity, managing your line side, green stuff, and also the price of coal. Now, I didn't know the price of coal had gone, as Tracy said, that much. To put that into context, we use around, what, 1,000, 1,100 tonnes a year, something like that. So even the back of my fag packet tells me that that's probably an increase of $1 million. Now, you don't get $250,000 from anywhere, which is why, you know, it is a serious problem, and it's certainly it's far more imminent than the commuter line problem. But the line's got so many holes in it that even Boris Johnson would have a job keeping a straight face trying to sell that one. But that's the opinion. Those are the two big things that we've got to fight against for the future. Or sorry, not necessarily fight against. Those are the two things that we've got to contemplate, work out, and either find a way around it. You know, Tracy mentions about alternative fuels for diesel and whatever. There was a presentation done by a bloke called John Hind, who is actually one of our working members. He's part of the Advanced Steam Group, and they've been doing trials with eco coal and stuff like that, but they've not yet managed to do it, A, at a reasonable price, and B, at anything above 15-inch gauge. So that may well come in the future, but certainly food for thought.
They'll be all right with the Duchess then at 15-inch gauge. Bit scale up there.
Just a bit.
Right. I'm going to stop the questioning now. We've had an hour and 3/4, and I'd like to thank everybody who's contributed, either as a questioner or as a responder to the questions. I'll just reiterate what I said at the start of this evening. On Tuesday, the 16th of November, that's next Tuesday at 7 o'clock in the museum. If you'd like to help out with Santa's during the next 4 weeks, starting on the 27th of November, please come along to the museum and listen to what we have to say, and also hopefully volunteer to help out. We really do need your help if we're going to make a success of this. We need to have at least one, preferably 2 stewards in every carriage, lots of people on meeting and greeting, ticket checking, giving out badges, and moving things around, giving out goodie bags with food and drinks in them and so on. So the more the help we can get, even if we only afford one day out of the 13, that would be very helpful indeed. So either let me know by email or Lorna by email, or come along next Tuesday evening at 7 o'clock in the museum. Finally, you know that, or most of you will know that I have been videoing this, recording this tonight, and I will put it out on my YouTube channel tomorrow and circulate it so everybody will have the opportunity to see what we've been discussing. It's been a very interesting discussion, and we've had lots of good questions. And I thank particularly Kath and Tracy for putting forward that presentation, and to the other members of staff who contributed as well. So from me, I'm going to say good night and thank you all. Thank you, Kath, in particular. You can start closing them down now, Kath. Oh, you want to say something?
No, I'm just clapping. That's my clappy emoji.
Right. Okay, I didn't realise that. Yep, thank you very much indeed. I'll see you all next time, which will probably be next year. But thank you very much for coming, and I look forward to see you on the Santas during the next 6 or 8 weeks.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Mike.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks, Mike.
Bye.
Cheers. See you later. Bye.